Just off the coast of Australia, divers uncover a skeleton buried in sand, the hands bound and a rusted blade placed beside the bones. Nearby, another discovery is made. A shipwreck beneath the waves, its remains untouched for nearly 400 years. There were no records of battle, and yet something happened here. Something so dark that even the sea couldn't erase it. To understand, we have to go back to 1628, to the doomed voyage of the Batavia, where horrifying atrocities would occur as its men and women battled for survival. The ship carried more than 330 people, including sailors, soldiers, merchants, women, and children. The ship's second-in-command, Jeronimus Cornelisz, was an outsider in every sense.
A few months into the journey,
Cornelisz, charismatic and persuasive, had begun gathering followers very quietly. Rumors would swirl. Was he planning a mutiny? But before any plan could take shape, fate would intervene. On the night of June 4, 1629, the ship slammed into an uncharted coral reef. The impact was catastrophic. 40 people died during the initial collision. Around 268 survivors would reach what is called Beacon Island. It was a barren strip of land with no fresh water, no food, and no shelter from the relentless sun. Realizing the situation was hopeless, a person named Commander Francisco Pelsaert made a fateful decision. He and a handful of men would take one of the only lifeboats that was still afloat and set sail for the city of Batavia with the promise of returning with help. With Pelsaert gone, Cornelisz positioned himself as the only man who could bring order. Food supplies dwindled quickly, reduced to a few scraps of rations that were either infested with insects or completely rotten. Cornelisz declared that there weren't enough supplies for everyone, and if they were going to survive until Pelsaert returned, they would need to thin the numbers. At first it was quiet. Survivors who challenged Cornelisz's authority just simply disappeared. A man caught stealing water, gone by morning. The sick and injured, pushed into the sea under the cover of darkness. Then it would become organized. Slowly, his followers became executioners.
this went on for weeks until
Pelsaert had returned. This commander arrived expecting to find survivors. Instead, he found an absolute bloodbath. The moment the ship anchored, the remaining survivors rushed to tell him what Cornelisz had done. They spoke of mass execution, betrayals, and the bodies left to rot on the sand. Justice was swift, and on that very same island where Cornelisz and his men had butchered the innocent, executions began. Cornelisz himself was kept alive just long enough to face judgment. His hands were severed before he was finally executed, a warning to anyone who wants to follow in his footsteps.